Jacob's biscuit factory, which commanded Portobello Barracks, was also being taken over. But opposition to the rising came from other quarters besides the British Army.
After some odd adventures, I got as far as Jacobs, and by God, there was a hostile crowd there, waving Union Jacks, calling on the lads inside, come out, you lot of effing slackers. If you want to fight, go out and fight in France and all this. They were waving Union Jacks and God knows what.
And as we came out on the street, there was a terrible hullabaloo of women and men. They were like, had sons and people in the British Army. And they called us all the names you could think of, you know, and one man made a grab at a rifle. So the Lieutenant Burden says to him, keep your hands off now, he said, you'll be sorry. So he wouldn't. So Burden shot him.
And then towards evening, before, just while it was getting dusk, word came through the grapevine that Pearse had gone out to surrender.
He'd gone out after getting a note from the commander of the British forces in Dublin, General Lowe. The note had been written at General Lowe's dictation by his son, John Lowe, a later film star known as John Loder.
Yes, that's my handwriting, all right. And a nurse in Red Cross uniform came in to headquarters, my father's headquarters, with a message from Pearse, who was the revolutionary commander-in-chief or commander, saying he wished to surrender. So then my father told me to take a letter, which I did, and that is the letter, that is my handwriting. And we met Pearse. I was wearing cavalry twill, which was a very smart material then, breeches, and they were sort of a light cream coffee color. He arrived and said to my father he wished and was empowered to surrender. So my father said, all right, and turned to me and he said, take Mr. Pearse to Kilmainham jail.
Other surrenders followed at the South Dublin Union.
Kent called his men together and he told them that of the surrender of headquarters unconditionally. The men told him, and some of them were scarcely satisfied to surrender, but he said, I'll say this, when Tom Clark, that served 15 years in British dungeons, surrendered, I don't think it is any shame on us to surrender.
Reluctantly, all the garrisons surrendered. Of the rank and file, some were little more than boys, and these their captors treated with reasonable leniency. Among them was a later IRA man.
Brought before 3 officers, and they said, where were you during the rebellion? I said, in Jacobs. What were you doing there? Fighting for Ireland. Didn't afford a shot. But however, my fingerprints was taken, and I was told, get out.
They brought us into the orderly room in Richmond Barracks. It was beside the guard room. And there was a lot of brass hats sitting down. What I mean by brass hats is high-ranking officers. And this officer addressed us and he said to us, you are thoughtless youths, and you've been led by madmen and maniacs. Go home and get your mother to wipe your nose.
Those who were marched off to internment in Britain were left in no doubt about what the people of Dublin thought of their rebellion.
There was a whole series of demonstrations while we were marched down, and it was fortunate for us that we had 2 rows of British soldiers on either side of us, or some of the women there would have shouted all sorts of expletive at us, told the soldiers to shoot the bastards. So I can say this much definitely, that the rising in Dublin certainly was not popular in 1916. I say that without fear of contradiction.